students. Today we discuss about 12th commerce morning video. In this video we start a new chapter, that is capital market. So in the case of financial market, it is one of the additional chapter, capital market. In this chapter we discuss about first meaning and definition. So capital market is a market where buying and selling engage in trade of financial securities like bonds and stocks. So buyer and seller, that is the maybe a company or the intermediaries, that is underwriters, bankers, brokers, every person. So capital market is a market where buyer and sellers engage in trade of financial securities like bonds and stocks. So the buying and selling is undertaken by the participants such as individual and institutions. So capital market forms as important core of a country financial system. So in order to increase the financial structure of a company or a country, so capital market is play a very important role. So it is a market to buy and sell the securities in large. So capital market can be defined as a market for a borrowing and lending of long-term capital funds required by business enterprise. So capital market is one of the market in order to lend long-term capital funds to the business enterprises. Capital market offer an ideal source of external finance. So it refers to all the facilities and the institutional arrangements for borrowing and lending medium-term, long-term funds. Like any market, the capital market is also composed of those who demand funds, that is borrowers, and those who supply funds, lenders. So it is one of the market to exchange the funds from the lenders to the borrowers. So both medium term and long term funds are to be lent, and it can be borrowed by some other persons in the capital market. According to Arun K., capital market may be defined as a complex of institutions, investment and practices with established link between the demand for and supply of different types of capital gains. So types of capital gains means stock, bonds and other movable assets that can be bought and sold in the case of a capital market. So capital market is one of the complex institutions, investments and practices of established link between the demand and supply of different types of capital gains. So features of capital market, that is characteristics of capital market. Securities market. The dealing in a capital market are done through the securities like shares, debentures, etc. So the capital market is thus called securities market. So capital market is one of the securities market because of in large scale shares and debentures are to be dealing. Price. The price of the securities is determined based on the demand and supply prevailing in the capital market for securities. So price of the securities are to be fixed based upon the demand and supply of the securities in the capital market. Next, participants. There are many players in the capital market. The participants of the capital market include individuals, corporate sectors, government, bank and other financial institutions. So these are the people who participate in the capital market in order to exchange the funds through the securities. Location. Capital market is not confined to certain specific locations. Although It is true that parts of the market are concentrated in certain well-known centers known as stock exchange. So it has its impact in the overall economy wherever suppliers and users of capital get together and do business. So capital market is not confined with specific locations, but in order to deal the securities and in order to exchange the funds, this capital market will have a specific location like stock exchange. So to exchange the securities and the funds, a specific place will need by the different companies in order to exchange the funds. So location will be need for capital market. Market for financial assets. So capital market provide a transaction platform for long-term financial assets. So long-term financial assets are to be exchanged in the case of a capital market. Kinds of capital market. So the capital market is divided into primary market and a secondary market. So majorly the capital market are divided into two types of market. We discussed in the previous chapter itself primary market and secondary market. So primary market means it is a market for new issue of new financial claims. So hence it is also called as new issue market. So the primary market deal with those securities which are issued to the public for the first time. So in the primary market, borrowers exchange new financial securities for long-term funds. So thus primary market facilitates capital formation. So in the case of primary market, it is a place where the securities are bought and sold for the first time. So the new issue companies, newly established companies and existing companies, those who want fresh issue, they can contact a primary market and they can deal it. Public issue. The most common method of raising capital by new company is through sale of securities. Sale of security to the public. It is called a public issue. So the common method of raising the funds by way of issuing securities to the investors, it is called as a public issue. Right issue. When an existing company wants to raise additional capital, securities are first offered to the existing shareholders on a preemptive basis. It is called a right issue. So mostly if the company wants to have additional capital means they will not issue fresh issue. They will issue the security to the existing shareholders and then they will offer it to the common public. Private placement. Private placement is a way of selling securities privately to a small group of investors. So private placement means securities are to be sold to group of investors. Then secondary market. Secondary market may be defined as the market for old securities. That is, those securities which are already issued in the primary market, that securities are to be bought and sold in the secondary market. So in the sense that securities which are previously issued in the primary market are traded here. So the trading takes place between investors who follow the original issue in the primary market. So it covers both stock exchange and over the counter market. So in the case of secondary market, those securities which are already issued in the primary market are to be bought and sold in the secondary market. So the investors, those who are having the securities already in their hands, they can contact the secondary market and they can deal the securities. Whether they want to sold the old securities and they want to buy the new securities means they will easily contact the secondary market. So with that we conclude this video, and we can continue the same chapter in the next video. So in this chapter we discuss about the meaning definition of capital market and characteristics of capital market, then kinds of capital market. So students learn all the concept clearly, and you can write the topic wise answers in your assignment notebook. Thank you.